So hello and welcome. Today we are looking at our Virtues Reflections cards for our source pick. And Linda, do you want to think about an intention today? Maybe we can co-muse.
Well, this is certainly an intention that is meaningful to me. I'll share it with you and see if it's meaningful with you too. The intention to be able to recenter myself, reground myself as required, um, in light of what's happening in, internationally and locally. We've got the COVID escalating, peaking all over the place, um, and governments, challenged with how to respond and help the citizenry, lead the citizenry through these challenging times. And everyone is waiting. It's now what, this second day after the U.S. election,
Mm-hmm.
and we're still waiting for the results. And the tensions in the U.S. apparently are quite escalating. I'm very grateful that I don't live in a major city there.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart is with them all. I'm keeping them all in my thoughts and prayers. So I need to take responsibility for my level of peacefulness and centeredness and groundedness. That's my first step. And then have be able to bring what's needed out into the world. So that's my intention. What will best
So
help?
if I can paraphrase, your intention is what will you're looking for what will help to center and ground you at this time in
And
everything that,
recenter and ground if I, yeah.
yeah. So what's the linchpin? Is that a good word? What's
What will anchor me?
mhm,
How's
mhm,
that?
mhm. I like that intention. I think we should say what will anchor us, because I do see that what you just shared, it's really happening. Okay, so I'm just gonna feel. I've been shuffling through while we've been talking, and I'm just gonna feel the card out. Feels like this one right here. It's beauty. Beauty is a sense of wonder and reverence for the harmony, color, and loveliness of the world. Beauty opens us to the deep patterns of life that inform and delight us. It allows us to feel our connectedness with all creation. It calls us to look beyond superficial appearance to appreciate the gifts in each person. Our creativity brings forth beauty in music, art, dance, and language. We practice beauty by creating a space of grace and order around us. We can reflect beauty in the way we dress, move, and speak. Living beautifully is a unique expression of our divine nature. And the quote on the back says, the human soul needs actual beauty more than bread. That's D.H. Lawrence. The practice of beauty. I spend time in the beauty of nature. I am inspired by the mysteries of life. I look for the good within everyone. I express my own creativity. I create a space of beauty and order around me. I speak and act graciously. I'm thankful for the gift of beauty. It nourishes my soul. Does beauty speak to you today?
Well, the intention for the pick today was, or is, what would help anchor me, you, us, and then outwardly to others. Um, and this time right now, which is very unsettled, um, locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. We've got the COVID revisiting, respiking everywhere, and people are challenged with how to deal with that. And then we are in the aftermath of the US presidential election, and there is a lot of unsettledness in the US and around the world as we await the outcome of this election and how it's going to be handled going forward. So, yeah, what would help anchor us, keep us centered, help us recenter if when we lose our center, our groundedness? Yeah, so that's the intention. So, how beauty speaks to me at this time is how important it is to remember to get back in touch with the harmony, the color, and the loveliness of the world. To um, put myself in a position where I am able to be open to that sense of wonder and reverence, um, and be open to the deep patterns of life that inform and delight us. It crossed my mind as I was meditating yesterday that, here we are coming up to Remembrance Day. And the motto of Remembrance Day on November the 11th is "Lest we forget." And as I'm watching what's going on in with my neighbors to the south in the US with around their election, and then other places in the world where the human made trauma is happening. Um, it, it, I can't help but wonder, are we forgetting, you know, the pain and the suffering that's being caused by us human beings? Um, there are natural disasters that are happening that people are dealing with. There's been a typhoon, there's been hurricanes, um, and that's terrible. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we were all able to come together and help those people who are in a situation that's not caused by us, that it's a what we call a natural disaster, um, and that we could come together so that we could help and support our neighbors, those neighbors, rather than being caught up in our own anger and dysfunction. I don't know. Um, so, to look beyond the superficial appearances, to appreciate the gifts in each person. So, I see people taking sides, and they're very determined that they're right. They're very committed to their view of the world, very locked into their perception of reality as being the truth, the absolute truth. And, these are all superficial appearances for dealing with, the accumulation of wealth and things that have so little to do with what's really, really important in terms of living together and appreciating, really knowing and understanding and appreciating and loving the beauty of each individual in this world as part of the creation. And that if we stop creating these situations where we're traumatizing each other and whipping each other up into these frenzied, crazy responses and out of control, behavior, where we're pushing each other out of center is really what it feels like to me. That we could all be doing so much more together, um, to make this a place that we all feel safe, that we all want to live in, that we all could feel that we don't have to stand so firmly on this ground of, the right to protect ourselves, because we don't need to protect ourselves from each other. That we could actually reframe and come to a place where we have the right to be loved and cared for by each other, and to love and care for each other. So that's how it's speaking to me today, is that we can reflect beauty to others by creating a space of grace and order around us, and dress, move, and speak, the way we dress, move, and speak. Um, yeah, find beautiful ways to reflect our divine nature. Um, and I, keep looking for the good within everyone. And that's part of the grounding. What anchors me is to be able to look at what's happening, and understand that people are hurting, and that it's hurt people that hurt people. And that in and of itself is a beautiful thing, that, if we can all recognize that everyone is responding from that place of hurt, when we lose our grounding, when we lose our anchor, it's usually our pain and our hurt that we're talking. So, find ways to express that with our creativity. Like the arts have been an incredible expression of pain over the years, and to find the beauty in the suffering. And it's such a healthy way to express it, rather than going to war with each other. So, yeah. And I love that quote by D.H. Lawrence, that the human soul needs actual beauty more than bread. It's true. So, thank you, Barbara. That's how it speaks to me today.
Just your optimism, it just bubbles right to the surface, even though I know it's a struggle and it's not easy. And, I hear your optimism and your deep caring for humanity, for our neighbors, for what's different, what even, and the appreciation for meeting people where they're at. So I really hear your hope and optimism for getting through this.
Yeah, and the importance of recognizing that it begins with me keeping myself anchored and re-anchoring and regrounding as I need to.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
And how about for you? How is it speaking to you?
So for me, I think just the same with you. It's through the arts that I really am hearing this card today in relation to our intention. It's important especially at a time when there's so much uncertainty, so much chaotic uncertainty that can't be verified, that can't be identified, that, so many layers of things coming at us. It's unprecedented. We've never had this happening, and it's destabilizing. So, is that intentional? Some think it is. Is the system toxic, and does it need a clean sweep? Absolutely. There are people who believe that the earth and every element, creature, component of this planet is trying to tell us something. Every storm, every dying species, every animal that we thought was evil, and now we see that, you know, we can actually have relationships with it. It all leads to what I think is most important, which is what we think is not necessarily what is going on. And, you know, like my grandmother says, and I've said many times, worry is like a rocking chair, keeps you busy, but gets you nowhere. And so how I interpret that is the chaos is going to happen anyway, regardless of anything. So we have a choice. We can choose to anchor in what we know will help us, or we can worry. And worry might seem like a desperate attempt to control, or it just might seem normal for people. But in my world, you know, I've been 40 plus years working in complementary therapies and energy medicine and human potential. It becomes very difficult when we're bombarded with ideas and there's no support around us to help us problem solve or identify whether that's true or not. And what's going on politically right now, I mean, it's so hard to know what the truth is. It's so hard to know because it seems like, you know, there's a very on some level it seems like there's a reality show being played out. And you know, and I don't want to undermine the pain that people are in or imply that that this isn't real. I'm just saying that on some level it feels very orchestrated, very manipulated, and we all need an anchor for that. And beauty, to me, because it ties in with creativity and wonder and awe, it's the most incredible distraction. So if, you know, we consider worry, or we can distract ourselves from the worry. It's what I call the art of intentional distraction. It's, you know, I'm going to, and I have been for the last 6-8 months, just not going into worry, just not allowing myself to do that. And instead, I go into meditation, I go into painting, I go into writing poetry, I go into creating, designing websites and putting things together and meeting with people and finding ways to surround my life with beauty, spending time in nature and doing things that surround myself with what inspires the spirit in me, what keeps me hopeful and whole, and what it's like, you know, it's for me, if I, and many times it's happened where we've been so busy up at our lake in the summertime that we don't plant flowers at home or tend to our garden. And when I'm at home and I'm in the yard, I feel the depletion of that beauty. I feel, especially if my planters are sitting there and there's nothing in them. I've even been known to stick plastic flowers or silk flowers in, because I need the lift. It lifts me. It takes my energy up and out of whatever it is that I'm in. Even if I'm not in a funk, it just lifts me. It's the same when I walk into the house and the house is clean and clear and everything's been orderly. There's a beauty there that lifts me. So I really appreciate the focus on this um, virtue today in terms of the intention, because it just, it helps me feel that it's not negligent to be separating myself out of the worry. It is not negligent. The chaos is going to happen regardless. It's self-care. And and I love it. I love it. I love that I have the choice, and I like that I know what it brings me. Yeah. So that's me in beauty today.
Well, I hear your deep appreciation for the fact that you have the choice. There was a joyfulness there that you have the choice and the responsibility that you're taking to moderate your being, your being in the world by taking that responsibility to self-discipline yourself so that you are practicing
Mm.
your creativity. You're using your creativity as a means to keep yourself out of the worry, out of the chaos, taking responsibility for not adding to it, feeding it, so that you're actually taking responsibility to what is it? You're feeding what it is you want to grow,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to inadvertently not being responsible for your own well-being and then inadvertently feeding what you don't want to see grow.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I find it particularly interesting because, up until I was involved what in the Standing Rock initiative, I was I was on a media fast. I'd been on a media fast for 37 years. It's and 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 loving it by choice. I mean, it was more because the news was very painful. So I was keeping up with what was going on in the world, just by the people I know who are around me that keep up with the world, and I'm getting their views on things. But now, I've never been uh, aware before of what's going on, and I'm never been interested before about the political, especially in the U.S. And now I'm finding that it is of interest to me. It does involve me. It is important that I understand it. It's not enough for me to um, not identify with what's going on, but to balance with beauty, right? So it, I think all those years I saw it as self-care, not being exposed to the news. And now I recognize that um, I need to understand it on a deeper level, because we all have a responsibility. And, I'm not an American, but I need to understand what's going on so that I can identify and understand with the pain that's being released in the world right now. When we think about how many millions of people are not going to be happy, it doesn't matter who wins. There's almost a 50-50 divide between who's supporting who. So 50% of those people, or whatever that percentage is, are not going to be happy. Um, and so, how do we ride through the chaos regardless? If Biden wins, it doesn't mean it's going to be peace and rainbows. If Trump wins, it does not mean that um, the world's going to hell. It means, regardless of who wins, we have a lot of work to do. And what's happened has exposed a lot of the need. So it involves all of us. So I really appreciate having beauty um, and the reminder today. So thank you, Linda.
You're welcome, Barbara. And thank you for sharing so deeply